First work session is a presentation by Don Baker from Goddard School.
And it was just very heartwarming for me to have that kind of support from the community, from the city administration. And I'd like to give some extra special thanks to my friend Ted. He was as important on this project to me, either both before it and during the construction phase of it, as my general contractor, Adkins Building, was. I went to him and I went to Adkins on different issues and obstacles that we ran into. And he helped me navigate a whole variety of issues and obstacles and other opportunities, from CRA tax abatement to low interest financing support from the county for equipment. And because it takes a lot of equipment to outfit a Goddard school. So Ted, I just want to again say thank you. You were very instrumental in the success of this project. There's the before, there's the after. I think it came out pretty good.
Okay, thank you for having me tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the resources that are needed to provide the emergency services that the Avon Lake Fire Department provides. So for a standard fire, a single residence fire, medium house, we need 12 to 16 firefighters according to different standards. That a minimum of 4 persons are needed on scene before any interior fire operations can begin. As far as EMS calls, standards also require 4 people for advanced life support, assessment, treatment, and transport, at least 2 paramedics and 2 EMTs. Our department standard operating procedures establish that 4 people should respond to a variety of these ALS advanced life support calls. Since 2015, 37% of our incident volume was for advanced life support EMS calls. So how many personnel do we have? The Avon Lake Fire Department has 25 shift personnel across 3 shifts. We have 1 9-person shift and 2 8-person shifts. And our current minimum manning is 5 firefighter paramedics. With our current minimum manning of 5, we can only handle 1 call. Minimum manning should be around 7 based on our call statistics and services. And as you can see from the 2 graphs, the 9-person shift provided 6 or more personnel more than twice as often as the 2 8-person shifts did. That's significant when we need those kind of resources on scene. Then in 2008, a study came out that was funded by the city by Brewer and Associates Incorporated, which determined that personnel should be added to bring the shifts to 9 persons per shift by 2010 and 10-man shifts by 2013. And then in 2011, a second study came out funded by the city by Emergency Services Consulting International, or ESCI, and they recommended that addition of 2 full-time personnel per shift and a part-time complement. Call volume in 2011 was up 796 calls, or 58% since 1997. So the graph on the left shows the call volume, which is up 77% since 1997. You can see there was a slight downturn around 2010 when we had a little bit of a population decrease and call volume fell a little bit. And because 2010 is also when we added that 1 person. On the right, you can see the calls per firefighter, which is a ratio of call volume to shift strength. Again, you can see in where it starts in 91, the calls per firefighter dropped as we added 3. Then as they rose to 1997, it dropped again when we added 3. Then it rose again to about the same level around 2004, 2005, and kept on growing until 2010. We added 1 person and had that small downturn, and now they're on the rise again. In the same amount of time, you can see in the bottom, the shift strength has remained flat with a 4% increase, adding that 1 firefighter. We cannot safely rely on mutual aid to handle all these concurrent calls. Mutual aid cities are getting busier also, and when mutual aid is available, the response times are significantly increased to get emergency services from, say, Avon or Bay Village versus from our station. As far as finances, that study that was done by ESCI, they determined that in 2009, Avon Lake Fire Department had the lowest cost per capita than other surrounding fire departments. Overtime was 7.8% of our total budget this year. In 2016, the current staffing levels resulted in 90 fill shifts for 1,488 hours to meet that minimum staffing of 5. If the year 2016 had 9-person shifts the entire year, overtime would have been reduced by at least $71,000. Now, overtime can be more cost-effective than hiring more personnel, but it comes at a cost to safety. As we increase the use of overtime to compensate for insufficient staffing, it results in a reduced work-rest cycle. This insufficient work-rest cycle can result in an increased chance of errors by firefighters who are not properly rested. As you can see from the charts, as the calls per firefighter go up, each time that we put on 3 people, so in 97, you see there's a downturn on that top graph where overtime decreased. But as call volume continued to rise, the overtime started to go back up. So in conclusion, the Avon Lake Fire Department's past due for an increase in staffing. The 9-person shifts really should have been established about 10 years ago, and presently we should be discussing putting on 10-person shifts. But as the city grows, we have to realize that it's going to have an effect on safety services. So we have to plan for that. Safety of the community and of the firefighters is compromised when there's a lack of staffing. So I have 2 recommendations. One, I would strongly recommend that the city immediately start the process of adding at least 2 more full-time firefighters to bring all 3 shifts to 9 persons. And then my second recommendation is that we look at long-range plans to start adding additional staffing in the next 5 to 10 years. The city and the Avon Lake Fire Department cannot wait another 20 years for an increase in staffing at the rate we're growing.
We as a city council have a responsibility to care for our citizens. It's, we sit up here and we approve the building of these new senior facilities and new housing developments, and all of that is fine and good. But there's also a responsibility then to make sure that those people are cared for. And the chief makes an incredibly compelling case in that in 20 years, this population has gone up nearly 50% in the community, and we've added 6 new senior facilities, which make up the bulk of our calls, all things that city councils present and past have approved, but we've only added 1 person to the department. So while we have this huge spike in population and senior facilities, we've added 1 person to the shift. Also striking is that the city hired 2 reports in 2008 and 2011 that both had the finding that additional personnel were needed. And so we have those 2 reports that we commissioned, and the findings both came back and said that we needed to add more personnel. So that is telling as well, too. So it's been 20 years since we've significantly added to the department. And I am prepared to bring forth legislation next week for 2 readings, adding 2 new personnel to the Avon Lake Fire Department, which would create 3 9-man shifts. I think that this is something that if it's explained to the public, they would greatly understand, and our senior facilities would greatly welcome as well, too. So this is a long time coming, and it's about time, and I'm glad that I get the sense that this council is going to move on it. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
But the important thing is the response time. When that second call comes in, how long are you going to wait there with your loved one to get the treatment they deserve? Or heaven forbid, if there's a triple. In November, we had a series of days. One day we had 16 calls, 2 doubles and a triple. And not only is that difficult to cover, as the chief suggested, you get fatigue involved too. And certainly if there's a lot going on, there's increased the likelihood of mistake. So we're actually increasing the quality of service and the response time for our residents, which is something we all should value. Right. But we're a community has a large number of chemical plants in town, and that takes special training and it takes special skills in order to deal with that. We've had great cooperation with Poly 1 Lubrizol and Mexichem. They work very closely with our fire department. We have a good relationship with Ford. We spent a lot of time at NRG the last couple months. There are a couple of coal fires in the plant, which are things that are ongoing and are difficult to put out, but our firefighters were able to handle that. We also had some chemical issues at Chemtron, and those were ongoing for several days where fires were starting up. So we have special responsibility.
This Thursday is December 7th, 76th anniversary of the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor and the entry of the United States into World War II. All flags at the United States shall be flown at half-staff from sunrise until sunset in remembrance of that attack. Thank you.
Yes,
Go ahead, now you're good.
Yes, thank you. Lorraine County Toys for Tots, collection date will be Thursday, December the 14th. Drop off your new, unopened, and unwrapped toys at Avon Lake City Hall, Avon Lake Fire Department, Avon Lake Public Library, Avon Lake Regional Water, or Ridge Cleaners located at both Lear Road and Pin Oak Parkway. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.